77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On July 2nd, Sean Diddy Combs was only found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, the Mann Act, related to his former girlfriend, Casey Ventura, and another woman known as Jane. Each count carries a maximum sentence of 10 years, though sentencing guidelines suggest a range of 4 to 5 years, with Combs already having served about 9 months behind bars. He was acquitted on the more serious charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and 2 counts of sex trafficking, which could have led to life imprisonment. The trial, which lasted nearly 2 months, revealed allegations of a criminal enterprise involving coerced sex acts, drugs, and violence, although Combs' defense argued that all those acts were consensual. The judge in the case has denied bail, citing Combs' potential danger, and proposed sentencing is now set for October 3rd of 2025. Combs will now face additional civil suits, which have a lower burden of proof. Here to help us break this shocking development down is Jaco Booyens. He is a recognized leader in the fight against sex trafficking. In President Trump's first term, he served as an advisor to the Trump White House's Anti-Trafficking Council. He also advises several nations and organizations combating human trafficking. His efforts are universally recognized, and we are very, very proud to have him on the show. Jaco, welcome to the Roger Stone Show.
Roger, what a pleasure, and thank you for your voice in our nation. It's an honor to be with you today.
So I must tell you, having followed the Jeffrey Epstein case, I was one of the first people in the country to write about Epstein. If you go to my book, The Clintons' War on Women, that was published in 2015, the longest chapter in the book is about Jeffrey Epstein and his criminal enterprises. I detail there how the police chief in Palm Beach gave state prosecutors a airtight case for sex trafficking and statutory rape of 33 individual underage victims, yet he got a slap on the wrist, and then only years later would he be charged federally. I also followed the Ghislaine Maxwell trial very carefully. I'm still astounded how you can be involved in conspiracy, but no other conspirators are named. And now this. What are we to make of all of this?
Yeah, Roger, I followed your work through those trials, and we too were involved with every one of them since 2005 on Epstein. This year marks the 31st year for me to combat trafficking, and it's important to note because my sister Ilonka was trafficked when she was 12 in 1994 through a U.S. record label in the music business. Within human trafficking, Diddy's case is very particular to our family because we know how this crime is perpetrated. This case was built as a house of straw. It was built wrong from the get-go. From when the claims were made until the case was filed, we looked at this case and we said this will fall apart in trial. Is they're building a case on one key witness testimony, Casey Ventura, who, in my opinion, was coerced, was defrauded, and was trafficked. But you go build a case against massive powerhouses of people, Hollywood elites, executives, people from Wall Street that attend these parties, and you're going to hang that whole case on a single survivor's testimony. Not only that, look at who the prosecutor is in the case. The prosecution did an absolute dismal job in this case. They don't know how to deal with survivors. They don't understand the type of trauma that survivors go through. So these cases have holes in it like Swiss cheese. And in defense, all they need to do, like they did with Virginia Giuffre in the Epstein case, is with Virginia, they asked Virginia if she'd ever lied before. When she said, sure, I mean, who hasn't? And they go, she's not a credible witness. With Cassie this time, and we saw it coming, they said, well, was your acts with Diddy ever consensual? Ever? And of course it was at some point. She was in love with the man. But if you understand how predators work, how traffickers work, what force, fraud, and coercion actually does to the exploitation of a person, how they earn the victim's trust, how they manipulate them with power and with status and appeal. Of course, at some point, it was consensual. But then she also says, but I didn't consent to X, Y, Z. I didn't consent to getting drugged. I didn't consent to waking up and having had sex with men that I didn't know. I didn't consent to having to sleep with men in order to record a record or for you to sing 16 bars on my record. I didn't consent to that. So these cases are very seldomly, Roger, built right because the people who built them do not know the crime. We have. Do you know, Roger, that we prosecute sex crimes in our country, which is these are felonies, right? We prosecute it at the state level as a low a rate as 13%, where the charge is a felony and the verdict is a felony for what it was charged, human trafficking, as low as 13%. All other crimes that are felonies, the charges match the claims at 92%. We do a dismal job at prosecuting sex crimes in this country, particularly when elites are involved.
Let me play devil's advocate here, if I may. The prosecutor in question, of course, was Maureen Ryan Comey. She is the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey, a man who just this past week was proven to have conspired with others in the greatest single dirty trick in American political history, and an abuse of power in which the full authority of the United States government, plus the incredible capabilities of our intelligence committees, utilized two pieces of quote-unquote evidence that they knew to be fabricated, the Steele dossier and the false claim that the Democrat National Committee had been the victim of an online hack by Russian intelligence to try to remove a legitimately duly elected president of the United States. So at a minimum, Maureen Comey is an establishmentarian. She's certainly representative of the established order. Given the stature of many of those involved in the Epstein scandal, those involved in the Diddy scandal, perhaps the government does understand how to build these cases, but they're throwing the cases to protect those who Epstein was catering to, that Diddy was catering to. I think that's a very likely possibility. What do you think?
Very good point, Roger. Yes. And to play devil's advocate that way, you would say, but think of the nefarious nature of that, where the American citizen is going to lose because the end justifies the means. And I would say that's most likely what happened here. Why are all these cases taken to New York? Maxwell wasn't arrested in New York. They're taken to New York. You find a certain amount of prosecutors with a certain history, a history that's riddled with what seems to be corruption, right, to prosecute these cases. And you make a really good point that it is nefarious in nature and even building the case, because you would never, if you were building this case correctly to actually prosecute the crime, you would subpoena co-conspirators, because RICO is what RICO charged. So racketeering, conspiracy was the charges. So then you would go subpoena other people that went to the freak-off parties. You would go subpoena the record label executives that paid for the parties. 22 years ago, when Sean couldn't pay for the parties, you would subpoena them. You would bring them in to testify. You would cross-examine them. You would go get other witnesses in the industry. None of that happened. They never prosecuted this case to actually find Sean Combs. I refuse to call him Diddy. His name is Sean Combs. To find Sean guilty on what he was charged for. Because if they were to do it, Roger, cookie would crumble. They would have to go call some serious names. You would have to go call a prince. in the Epstein case. You would have to go call a former president of the United States to come testify. You would have to go call some high-ranking individuals in Hollywood. And the American citizen that's not a celebrity loses every time. And so this is how the left plays. I want us to understand, even with President Trump in the White House, who is a champion against human trafficking. I mean, I'm telling you, I fought this my whole life in this country. No president has done more. Even with him, you see now that there are those who work against him, and they find these loopholes in the system to protect their friends, and the American citizen suffers.
Yeah, it is not incidental that U.S. Attorney Damian Williams oversaw all three of these cases, the Epstein case, the Maxwell case, the Diddy case. And I think all three of these cases were thrown. In Epstein's case, the New York medical examiner, Michael Baden, one of the most respected forensic pathologists in the United States, examined Epstein's body and insists that his injuries are not consistent with him having hung himself. The American people are asked to believe that the security cameras just happened to be out of order, that the two guards who were supposed to be monitoring Epstein happened to fall asleep, that they happened to remove his cellmate the day before he allegedly killed himself. Yet we had his criminal defense lawyer, David Schoen, on this show, who said he was retained the Thursday before, and they had reached a settlement on his retention fee, which was not an insubstantial amount. So who hires an expensive lawyer on Thursday but kills themselves on Saturday? The answer is no one. You're tuned in to the Roger Stone Show. We're talking to Jaco Booyens, who is one of the leaders in the country in the fight against human trafficking and sex trafficking. And we're going to continue to talk about the Diddy trial and who it may have covered up for when we get back. Whatever you do, folks, please don't touch that dial. This is the Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple audio networks, and we'll be back with more.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. 77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.
Grandpa's here!
Hank's always helping out. Grandpa style. Now he's treating his prostate cancer with help from Xtandi enzalutamide. Xtandi 40 milligram tablets treats men with prostate cancer that has spread to other parts of the body and responds to a medical or surgical treatment to lower testosterone. Xtandi may cause serious side effects: seizure, a brain condition called PRESS, allergic reactions, heart disease that can lead to death, falls and bone fractures, swallowing problems, or choking that can lead to death. Stop Xtandi and get medical help at once if your face, tongue, lip, or throat start swelling. Tell your doctor at once if you faint, have a seizure, quickly worsening headache, decreased alertness, confusion, vision problems, chest pain or discomfort, or shortness of breath. Xtandi can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during and 3 months after Xtandi. Common side effects include muscle and joint pain, feeling unusually tired, hot flashes, constipation, less appetite, diarrhea, high blood pressure, bleeding, falls, fractures, and headache. Talk to your doctor and visit Xtandi.com.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive, a leader in boat insurance. Welcome aboard to Carefree Boating. Here, we don't worry about the what-ifs, because we explore with Progressive Boat Insurance for as little as $100 per year for a basic liability policy. Progressive also offers a variety of other coverages and can help you cover repair costs when you need it. And with discounts like multi-policy, safety courses, responsible driver, and more, your mind can really float free. Cruise on over to Progressive.com to get a quote today and see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Rate and discounts not available in all states or situations.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back on the Roger Stone Show. We're talking to Jaco Booyens, a recognized leader in the fight against sex trafficking. We're talking about the larger issue of human trafficking and sex trafficking in the United States, specifically trying to sort out what exactly happened at the Sean Combs trial. I just said that I thought the government purposely threw these trials. Where are the co-conspirators? Where are the indictments against others beyond just Sean Combs, beyond just Ghislaine Maxwell, beyond just Jeffrey Epstein, for that matter? These people were catering to elites whose names would be known to virtually everyone listening to this radio show. That's why I think there was a massive cover-up here. Jaco, let me ask you, Democrats like California Governor Gavin Newsom and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker are talking about decriminalizing sex work. Now, as a libertarian, there was a day in which I considered prostitution a victimless crime, thought that it could be legalized if it was regulated with health checkups. I've kind of abandoned that position because I think the cartels, as it were, organized crime and other bad actors would move in, just utilize this legalization, putting women or children, boys and girls, into servitude against their will. And therefore, I've changed my view. What do you think of these proposals?
Yeah, Roger, thank you for bringing that up. It's a massive movement. It's called the Full.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Decrim movement, and it's led by J.B. Pritzker and his brother and Gavin Newsom. Later this year in November, there's a massive conference in Johannesburg, South Africa, where they want to lead the effort. Look, the three places where that has happened in the world all pulled it back. Child trafficking skyrocketed over 1,000%. You cannot decriminalize the sale of people. In an ideal world, under your previous statement, if it was purely consensual, you could have that argument. But do you know that 87% of all legal prostitutes that are in counties in Nevada that are legal, 87% of them have filed trafficking charges? Because all it takes, Roger, is one event where that human being says, I don't want to go into that guy's hotel room, I don't want to be with him intimately, and they're forced to do it, and now it's trafficking. So the decrim movement falls on its face from the get-go. It will be exploited, but it's gaining a lot of momentum in our country, part and parcel, because they'll even tell you, well, these crimes are so difficult to prosecute. Think about this, 20-something years of freak-off parties by Sean Combs. 20 years. They call one testimony, they charge him with human trafficking, which means there's a buyer and a seller. This is an industry of supply meets demand. Yet not in Epstein or Maxwell or Harvey Weinstein, for that matter, or Kevin Spacey or Diddy, did any of the buyers get called. No buyer is cross-examined. Nobody that bought human beings when Epstein provided them. Nobody that paid for sex with children when Epstein provided them. He's charged with trafficking. So where's the buyers? I mean, you're charging him with trafficking, so go get the buyers. The buyers are high-profile individuals in this country, and they cover for them. So 20-something years of cases, and the jury comes to a verdict in 3 days. 3 days, and the Friday before the verdict, they dropped 50% of the sex trafficking charges on the Friday. They just dropped 50% of the charges because they said, we don't think the jury can come to a verdict on these charges. No, because you intentionally, to your point, built the case so poorly that Cassie Ventura is the largest loser here, if that makes sense. She's the one that is losing because her face is out there. She's now called a liar. I was quite surprised, actually, that some of the Hollywood elites came out, some of the women in the Me Too movement came out and said, so there's never justice for any victim.
It is a great tragedy. I want to thank our guest, Jaco Booyens, for joining us to talk about the Diddy case. And whatever you do, folks, don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with Congressman Eric Burlison to tell us about the tremendous importance of the big, beautiful bill.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
77 WABC invites you to a family fun day and softball showdown on July 20th with net proceeds benefiting Shriners Children's. John Sterling will call the game as the FDNY takes on the NYPD with special guests Dwight Gooden, Art Shamsky, 77 WABC hosts including Sid Rosenberg, Anthony Cumia, Lionel, Dominic Carter, and many more. For more info and to buy tickets, go to ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org. That's ShrinersChildren'sChampions.org.